An unwelcome guest pays an unwanted visit to the Florida Keys today, bringing strong winds, high tides, heavy winds, and Hurricane George leaves the islands a mess. Good evening. Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Paul Emick.
And I'm Terry Smith. President Clinton has declared a state of emergency in Florida, clearing the way for federal assistance following the destruction left by Hurricane George. The emergency covers 17 counties in the Sunshine State. But the storm's not finished yet. It's gathering strength, and we're keeping a close watch on it. Jeff Morrow's in the Forecast Center with the latest on Hurricane George.
All right, thanks, Terry and Paul. And indeed, we still have a Category 2 hurricane spinning just west of Key West right now. But the Keys, the lower Keys in particular, still getting lashed with some fairly high winds, up to hurricane force in gusts, and maybe even some flooding still on some of the roadways there, particularly US 1. Let's go ahead and give you the very latest from the National Hurricane Center. 24.7 north, 83.1 west, centering the hurricane 85 miles west of Key West. The winds at 105 miles an hour. That makes it right there in the middle of Category 2 strength, moving generally very slowly. We're calling it drifting to the west-northwest, and the pressure at 974 millibars as of the latest Air Force Reserve Reconnaissance Aircraft fix. Here are the watches and warnings that are currently out, and again, the red shading anywhere from near Sarasota down through the Keys up to Key Largo. Those are hurricane warnings. And then we have tropical storm warnings from north of Sarasota, including the Tampa Bay area up to Bayport. Then from St. Mark's all the way over to Morgan City, Louisiana, including the mouth of the Mississippi, including all the way on over along the Mississippi and Alabama Gulf Coast. Those are hurricane watches that are in effect at the current time. Joining me now here in the Forecast Center is our hurricane expert, John Hope. And again, John, this system, we were just looking at the track of it. It has been out there for a long, long time, and it's been quite a devastating hurricane.
It certainly has. It's come all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, through the Caribbean, hit every place it could find on the way so far, just about.
And there are over 300 reported fatalities in the Caribbean, just absolute disaster.
Very tragic indeed, very tragic.
Well, from here on, John, we're looking at the satellite perspective. We're not quite done with the Keys yet, but with the center slowly moving away, conditions should slowly improve there.
They are going to be subsiding, but as you indicated, it's going to do it very, very slowly. Still a lot of heavy rain, still a lot of strong, gusty winds there. Maybe not quite hurricane force, but close to it.
And as far as the rest of South Florida, conditions there, aside from some isolated squall bands, which have set up in a few places here, the rest of South Florida doesn't look in too bad a shape.
Not as far as the wind goes, but some more of those outer rain bands are producing severe weather.
All right, and as we take a look at the radar, again, you can still generally just pick up the hurricane eye well off there to the west, but plenty of rain still coming up into the Keys here, John, and plenty of wind too.
And of course the reason you can't see the eye better than that now is it's getting too far away from the radar sight. But yes, indeed, we still see heavy rain bands. So this has been a very rainy hurricane every place, and I'm sure the Keys are no exception. The lower Keys especially, the rainfall totals will be pretty high.
All right, so even if you could get down to the Keys right now, which you can't because you won't be allowed to get on or off the Keys there, you have to pretty much stay put. The roads are closed there, but it's still not safe at all to head out that way.
They're very anxious down there in the lower Keys for people not to move about try to drive on the streets because they haven't really had a chance to get in there and assess how much the roads have been damaged, how much debris there is, and begin to get it out of the road and that kind of thing.
All right, and as we look at the bigger picture, again, we talked a little bit about some of these bands to the north, and that's where we might have the possibility of some tornadoes, John.
And that's typical in this kind of situation, to get the tornadoes far away from where the core of the hurricane is.
All right, now I guess the next big question, obviously, is where is this hurricane going to be headed from here?
Well, the forecast track the National Hurricane Center has out, this is based on the 5 p.m. advisory, actually. The track comes up somewhere near the middle of this cone. And it does it so, as you'll notice there, fairly rapidly. It has it up all the way to the northern Gulf Coast by Sunday morning is a Category 3 hurricane. But watching this tonight, you know, all day long and the day before, it had been basically moving along about 14 miles per hour. And now it's not moving certainly any more than half of that. So that timetable may be slowed down just a little bit, so we'll wait and see on the next advisory whether the Hurricane Center may slow that down just a bit. However, you know, this is a pretty large storm, and some of these warnings might have to go up in the Gulf Coast pretty soon anyway because of the large radius of especially tropical storm force winds.
All right, so we'll be looking at the 11 p.m. advisory with anticipation here to see if that indeed does happen. Thanks, John, for joining us again. We'll be back in a half an hour with the latest from our hurricane expert, John Hope. Right now, though, we want to talk about one of those areas that may have some warnings issued later on tonight or maybe during the day tomorrow, and that would be up at Pensacola Beach, where our own Kristen Dodd has been standing by. And Kristen, I understand evacuations in some places already underway.
That's right. As a matter of fact, the evacuation order was given at about 5 o'clock this afternoon, so residents here are already beginning to board up and head out of the barrier islands. We are in Pensacola Beach to give you a good idea of the preparations that are taking place before Hurricane George nears the coast. And residents here, they're no strangers to hurricanes, and so today they wasted no time in getting ready. At the local Home Depot and other hardware stores, there were long lines of people getting the necessary supplies, including cutting plywood in order to board up their windows and also any type of glass doors that they have on their homes. Many folks were stocking up on fresh water, batteries, chainsaws, anything that they feel they might need over the next couple of days should Hurricane George begin to near the coastline here. And as I said, these folks definitely wanted to be prepared. How are you?
I'm very concerned. We're leaving as soon as we get everything taped up and the boards on the windows. We're out of here. We've been through, I guess, a couple hurricanes, and we're not staying. We're smart enough not to stay. We're leaving.
To help the folks get prepared, the emergency management personnel has been gathering in the headquarters in the inland area of Pensacola. This is for Escambia County, and they've been meeting throughout the day today and watching the Weather Channel very closely for the latest information. And again, at 5 o'clock, they did decide to issue the evacuation order for all of the barrier islands here, all the way from Perdido Key to Destin. So now folks are boarding up, and they are beginning to make that trek toward the shelters or perhaps to friends' homes farther inland or to hotels. That's the latest from here tonight. We'll continue to bring you further updates tonight and tomorrow, and as conditions worsen here, we also will be evacuating. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Kristen Dodd, reporting live there from Pensacola Beach. All right, now on its 5-day rampage through the Caribbean, George has killed over 300 people. Some of those countries are going to be hard-pressed to recover anytime soon. Rich Johnson takes a look back at some of the early history of George.
George. It is a hurricane that has lashed through the Caribbean. At times, a Category 3 hurricane with winds as high as 120 miles per hour. Storm surge at least 15 feet high, and a swath measuring as much as 300 miles across. George pummeled the U.S. Virgin Islands, leaving thousands of people